Today's vote is one stop on a long road that this legislature and other legislative bodies in the course of our country's history have traveled on to bring about equality and fairness. New Jersey's fight against discrimination has been a long journey, and it is a journey that is marked by success after much labor and struggle and frustration. Less than 20 years ago, less than a generation ago, there was no law in New Jersey that prohibited discrimination against gays and lesbians. It didn't exist. So within a generation, that law became a reality because men and women of conviction who served before us in this body understood the importance of providing fairness and equality for all of our citizens. And so we continue that journey today. And it is time for us to bring one more piece of that journey home. It's time for us in New Jersey to break down the walls that divide same-sex couples from other couples and deny them the very happiness that we all should embrace and welcome. The time has come for New Jersey to stand for marriage equality. I realize that for many of us in this chamber, this is not an easy vote. It is not an easy issue. But the fight for civil rights, the fight to do what is right for the people of any state, has never been easy. In our history as a nation, there have been shining moments when, in the face of adversity, in the face of opposition, we have had leaders who have stood up and understood what was important and what was right, and they led us as a state and as a nation and took us to a place where we need to be. Our shame has been when we haven't had those leaders and we've cowered and avoided what was doing right. In the fight for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we saw such a moment. Entrenched Southern Democrats in the United States Senate used their position as committee chairs and the filibuster to block passage of the Civil Rights Act. However, we had leaders, President Johnson, Senator Humphrey, and Senator Dirksen, the minority leader, broke a 47-day filibuster. It was the first time in 37 years up to that point in time that the Senate had voted for cloture on a civil rights motion. And it happened not because those men looked to see where other people stood. It didn't happen because those men looked for a referendum. It happened because they understood what was important, what was right, and they led, and they succeeded, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964 became law. In our state, our governor is not being that kind of leader. So we here in this chamber, we all have a choice today. We have a choice to be leaders. We have a choice to follow in the footsteps of other legislators who have been leaders. Let me tell you the story of a young man named Harry Byrne. Harry Byrne was 24 years old in August of 1920. He served in the Tennessee legislature. In August of 1920, 35 states had approved the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which would prohibit denying the right to vote on account of the person's gender. So it came to Tennessee, and in the Tennessee House where he served, it was tied. It was a tie vote. Harry Byrne thought about this, and he knew the pressure that was upon him because it was a novel concept. It was a concept that was opposed in many camps. But he listened to his better angels, and he listened to what his mother advised him to do, and he voted yes. And that one man, with that one vote, he changed the course of not only the history of the state of Tennessee, but the history of the United States of America. And so we are here today at an equally pivotal moment. We are here at a point in a juncture in our legislative careers that does not come very frequently. We vote on lots of bills, and we have lots of long debates and discussions on a variety of issues, but none that so fundamentally affect the quality of life of so many people in the state of New Jersey as this bill has the ability to do. We have an ability to lead by our example and make a difference and make New Jersey a better place, and understand that New Jersey is a better place because we understand that we need to be a welcoming, inclusive state, one that breaks down barriers, one that sets the model for the rest of our nation. So each of us will have the opportunity today to have our votes recorded on this board. There will be red lights and there will be green lights. Now, the interesting thing is, for those who put up the red light, the history books of the state will look at it and they will just record the yes and the no votes. There won't be an asterisk that said voted no, hoping for a referendum. It will just be a yes or no vote. And so we have to think about how we want to explain ourselves. Not when this vote is over, not at the end of the day when we go back to our districts, not at the end of the term when we're running for re-election. We want to be able to explain ourselves to our children and to our grandchildren who 20 years from now, much like when we sit here today and can't imagine a state without a discrimination law that bans discrimination against gays and lesbians, we need to be able to understand how we're going to explain to our children and grandchildren 20 years from now how we could have voted no to allow people to have the same rights and privileges, to allow people to be married, to allow people to have happiness. I don't know about you, but that's a hard thing to explain. Because when you talk to children today, when you talk to our teenagers, when I talk to my daughters, and one of my colleagues mentioned this, they all look at us and say, why is this even a debate? Why is this even a debate? And it shouldn't be, but it is, and we're here, and we have the ability to set this state forward. We have the ability to allow couples to have the dignity and the rights that all of us enjoy. And we ought not avoid the opportunity. We ought not push it off to someone else to decide. That is why we were elected. That is why we are here. Today is our moment to make history for this state. Mr. Speaker, I intend to vote yes. I encourage all of my colleagues to vote yes, because the eyes of history will be on us. Thank you very much.